and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy, and today we are reviewing Carlton bouncing back to beat the GWS Giants at Melbourne Stadium. Final scores were, of course, Carlton 17 goals, 15, 117 points to the GWS Giants, 15 goals, 8, 98. I was meant to go to this game, but in the very end, I unfortunately couldn't go. So we actually did a giveaway for our membership tickets. So we gave away those tickets, which was good. We gave it away to a girl called Sarah, I think her name was. So hopefully they had a great day out at the footy. But Daft Boy, of course, you went to the game. So I think being there would have been a different experience, especially in that third quarter, seeing 7 goals to 3, I think it was in the end, Carlton's way. But Daft Boy, first things first, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. It's always something about a morning after a win. There's something about it. Yeah, it's I don't know. Obviously, we're all big blue baggers. I remember as a kid, when we were shit and you win one game and it's the best weekend of your life. So, I'm happy, man. I think we just got to look at these wins and enjoy them, man. Be in the moment. I know us two like to talk about how you win the flag or whatever, blah blah blah. But enjoy it. Be in the moment because right now this is unbelievable how good this football team is. We've got all these injuries. Yesterday's game was just obviously we got a load of skill on that team, but it was grit, determination. There was certain times where they were on top, but we just stuck with them. That's all we had to do all day. I was like, if we just stick with them, 2-3 goals, like Adelaide did to us last week, and then they hit a punch. They punched us, and what happened? We punched them right in the throat in the third quarter. That was just that end of the last, it was probably I think I rewatched the last time. It was probably from the 10-minute mark of the third quarter.
Yeah.
Holy moly, Patto. That was Carlton football to a T. We saw glimpses of it in 2022 where we just got going and we were just flying and goal after goal. We are one of the most fun teams to watch, I reckon, if you're a neutral fan. And that's what I like. We're not boring. Freo are getting wins and look at them. Look what's happened to them. Freo, you play shit brand of footy, you're not going to be good. And what happened last night? You get like your defense was down, which is their strong suit. And what happens better? You get smacked. You get smacked. And I think that's the good thing about our evolution as a team is, if a certain part of our game is down, we find a way to win. And I think, the start of the year, everyone's like, we struggled over the line against Richmond and Freo and whatever. Our clearance game wasn't great for the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? It was our intercept to score game. And now, like yesterday, what happened, Patto? Our clearance game, bangity, bangity, bang. Mark Pittonet said strength. He said, Briggsy, I'm taking you on. And I'm putting the blue baggers on me back with Captain Cripps and Sammy Walsh, the Batman and Robin themselves. And Patto, what a day. And the atmosphere was, I don't know what the best goal was in terms of atmosphere. Might have been when we hit the lead. I reckon it was maybe the Harry. Oh, no, the Charlie on the left, maybe. I don't know. There was a few goals to get around, but Jesus, Patto, that was, I think if Walsh had kicked one, I think the whole Marvel Stadium would have cracked open. But no, it was fantastic.
And another moment, of course, was one of the last goals of the game was Matt Candy when he kicked his goal in his 100th game. And that was also another moment
Fantastic.
that just in its own right was absolutely fantastic to see. Because he played a great game as well, 27 touches and a goal. And he looked like more of that ball around the ball. And I think I think with him, it's more like you kind of put him around the ball a little bit more just because it is his milestone game. But also, I loved seeing him get a lot of the ball, and we've been seeing it a lot the past few weeks. And what happens with Kennedy when Shearer comes back in, we don't know. But you also mentioned there about the second quarter. I mean, first and second quarter when we were playing solid enough football, but GWS Giants were just always just doing that little bit more. And that's when I was like, a half time, I'm like, we're actually not even doing a lot wrong. GWS Giants is proving that they are one of the best teams in the competition, and they're not really embarrassing us, but they are finding us out in a sense. And third quarter to be able to, because GWS Giants didn't really drop their level at all. We just roasted to the occasion, and it was great to see a different type of football where I think first and second quarter we were around the same brand, but third quarter we took it to another level. And I think PITTO is a big reason for the way that we played. And it's something that we're going to touch on later on in the episode. But we're going to swing straight into the initial thoughts, Dappy Boy. And the first thing that we'll touch on is, I guess, the 22-8 set of clearances. And a big reason for that is, as I just said, Mark Pittonet, but also TDK. I think when he, it's a tricky one because we talk so much about the ruck combination, and I see the positives with TDK being the sole ruckman, being around the ball, of course, but also when he's impacting forward. We saw it last year in the semi-final against Melbourne when he was kicking goals. He got his confidence up to when he was transitioning into the ruck contest. He was then actually impacting that as well. So when he goes forward and actually scores and actually impacts a scoreboard with a goal with the 6 points, and then can transition back into the ruck, I think it's a great thing to have. And I really do think that moving forward, I think this is the combination we have to stick with, because I mean, I've been a big fan of Pitto. I really have. And I think outside noise has gotten to me in terms of like, okay, I guess we just have to play TDK as a sole ruckman, blah, blah, blah. But I've always been a fan of Pitto. I really have. And I've always been wanting to see TDK as that sole ruckman, but I just don't think he's ready right now to be that clearance stoppage beast that can get it out to a Paddy Cripps and a Walsh and a Chera, because these guys that they rely so much on Pitto. And I'm sorry, but clearance work and Pitto, after yesterday, he's one of our most important players, really. And it's funny to say that, but he is instrumental to our structure. So just before I throw to you, Dappy Boy, Sam Walsh is an absolute freak of nature. You can touch on that as well. But also we have proven ourselves to be one of the best sides in the competition. And of course, we beat one of the best sides in the competition as well in GWS Giants. So, Dappy Boy, your initial thoughts? What were your thoughts?
Just, like I said before, I'll start on the third point, actually. Playing these teams that we know we're probably going to come up against in the finals is always a good challenge. And I think it's a challenge where you get to the end of the year and you go, gee, we've got the Giants in a qualifying final. We've beaten them. We've beaten them. No, we've actually done it. Sometimes when you play a team and you're like, you play them in a final series, or you see another team play someone and their record against them isn't good. There's a difference. It's a mental game. Finals is a mental game, and I know that's a long, long way away, but I think we've got Giants twice, we've got Port twice, there was a few other, there was someone else, there was a few teams twice that are probably going to make the 8, and I reckon that's better. I don't want to play, the shit. I'd rather not beat up on the shit teams. You know what I mean? I want it to be we're good enough to win games against these good teams. So I don't want the less games we play against these bottom half, I'm happy. And we love an easy win against, whatever, a North and a West Coast. That's going to come. But I think for us developing as a football side, we're going to have to play and prove ourselves against the best more than once.
Yeah.
We're going to have to play them, I think, round 17 at their home ground. Yeah, and we've been pretty good there the last few years. And mentally, when you're beating those teams, you got Geelong next week, which is another challenge of itself. We knock them off. You go, we'll take anyone in the finals. It gets to that point, doesn't it? Where you go, gee, I don't care who we play, because I think we're going to win. If we're at the G in front of our home crowd, who's going to beat us? So I think, the proving ourselves is a massive element of that game yesterday, especially with the outs. Jesus. Our clearance dominance, that was unbelievable. In a game where you don't even have to look at the stats to know you're absolutely dominating out in the middle.
Yeah.
Like last week we won the clearances, and it wasn't like you kind of knew it, but it wasn't like a domination like yesterday, where it changed the whole game. I think it kept us in the game, in my opinion, at certain stages where, they might kick a goal, but we win the clearance. You know what I mean? That's huge. They won 8% of clearances, Patto. So they must have hated the ball going back to the middle, to be honest, because they're thinking, when are we going to win? We got, I knew they had, Cornelio out, which is a big out, but we got Chair out, we got players out as well. So it was really, really good to see. And Sam Walsh, Jesus, we spoke about it before we recorded. Jeez, is he human or what's going on there? And also Paddy Cripps, my God, that was, Jesus, probably up there, one of the best games he's played. He's played a lot of good games for the club, but in terms of impact, 39. And he didn't step a foot wrong. He did everything right in certain stages where the ball hit the deck. He used his body well. Like those types of things. That's experience. That is experience. Because it's a 50-50 contest, but he was winning the 50-50 contest where he might shepherd someone out or he laid a block. I think he laid a big block last week for Sard, and that was talked about a few times on Fox Footy. Those little things go a long way to winning a football game.
Yeah.
And he's really good at I guess you call them the one percenters in a sense, but he did more than the one percenters. He was setting up goals. He surprised he didn't get on the scoreboard the way he was playing. But yeah, he just quick. Like I said to you before, he looks, nothing's holding him back at the moment in terms of niggles, and he's moving really freely. And when he's got that breakneck speed out of a contest, geez, it helps too, doesn't it? He doesn't have to rely on other guys. So it's really, really good to see. And them two combining for 74 touches is quite unbelievable. And if you add Georgie Hewitt into that, that's over 100 touches between three of them. And that's a pretty good day at the office.
Yeah, because I had a look back at the GWS Giants coach, Adam Kingsley, in his press conference after the game. And the one thing that he said that was the kind of the shift in the second half was the midfield dominance from our end. And there was a lot of, I think GWS Giants obviously didn't have Cornelio in there. So that was a big problem from there. And I think he sorts out a lot of those problems. So hopefully he gets back in the next few weeks. But I think from our end, like as you said, we don't have Chera. So there's and we don't have Fog also that can go through there to give us a different look. We don't have Cunners in there who can go through for a different look. And before we move on to our midfield dominance, also Zach Williams, he was of course subbed out. So Jack Harrell was brought into the game. Now what I'm hearing is it was just a knock to the Achilles. So it was very precautionary. I'm hearing that it's not anything too serious, but also with Zach Williams and obviously our injury luck, we can't really trust it too much. So right now, in this point in time, he should be fine to go next week. And I just think that with Zach Williams, especially since he's played a lot of football this year, which is good to see, you don't want to take any risk with him. But it was an interesting kind of time because when we all thought the winner was going to miss the game, we were all saying like, all right, Young has to go there, Jesse Hogan, blah blah blah. Then out of nowhere, I text you saying, all right, well Zach Williams is out for the game, Wettering is all good to go. So, but yeah, we will probably have some more news on Zach Williams for the preview for the Geelong Cats game. But let's now move on to. There was a segment here that we were just trying to stick on, try and focus on Paddy Cripps and our captain's performance, but I think we've changed it now to Batman and Robin. Now, Daf, my question to you is, who would you put as Batman and who would you put as Robin? Sam Walsh or Paddy Cripps?
Batman's Cripps, for sure. Batman's Cripps. Walshy came along a little bit later.
Yeah,
he's been. This is the way I look at it. He's been the Batman.
For
the last however long. Walshy comes in the last 5 years and he's a little helper in a sense. But geez, I'll go back to you. But that was them two were just too good.
A different type of game. And like you look there, 39 disposals from Patrick Cripps. Well, a captain's performance in its own right, but there's other things that he doesn't. There's other things that isn't spoken about through the game that he does, and people probably at the game, like I know that when I was watching on the TV, I probably didn't see things that you did from Patrick Cripps' game. And I'm sorry, but 39 disposals, 13 clearances, 7 tackles from Cripper, but also to go like onto Sam Walsh's stats as well. So he hit 35 touches as well, 4 tackles, 6 clearances, 17 score involvements was I think the stats. But also 511 meters gained for Sam Walsh, but also 401 meters gained for Paddy Cripps as well. So it's like looking at that, they get a lot of the ball, but I'm sorry, but I think Cripper and Walsh, they impact the game more than anyone. So when Paddy Cripps gets 39 touches, he is impacting the game. Same thing with Sam Walsh. He gets 35 touches. He's impacting the game. So, I mean, last week he got 34 touches. This week he got 35 touches. Who knows? Next week, well, he could probably get 36 touches, but let's hope we can maybe push that to maybe 40 touches next week. But, Jack Boy, I'm going to throw it straight back to you, mate. Batman and Robin, what were your thoughts on those games? But also George Hewitt as well.
Yeah. No, I thought, it was just, what do you say? It's 2 superstars of the competition. And like I said, we've got to live in the moment. Do not take these two for granted because in 20 years' time, you'll be telling your kids, seriously, But there's the old fellas sometimes go, hey, let's talk about Cooters and Sticks and all that back in the day. We've got a new generation. Those are superstars. They're absolute superstars. Diesels and all that. Absolute superstars of our football club, and forever will be. But now this is it. This is the next generation of superstars. And when you think about it, it's like, geez, I want to tell my kids about these two. You know what I mean? You bring them up through the years and you go, gee, they look at old highlights of Cripps's bloody domination and Harry and Charlie and Wiedering. Wiedering's that, I know I'm kind of going off the Batman Robin thing, but guys like Wiedering, he's that type of team of the century type player. The paintings you see at the footy club is like a painting. It's got like Stephen Silvani. And the way I think about it is I think, geez, that'll be like Cripps and Harry and all that, in the future. So we've got to live in the moment. That's just back to the live in the moment type kind of motto I'm kind of going for. But in terms of Batman and Robin, Jesus, wowee. Walsh is 23 years old. What and I'll just say again, Patto, I do not want to hear a word about him and Rosie in the same conversation. Do not even put it in there. Do not even put it in there. Do not. It's that draft class. It's Walsh, right? 500 meters of shit, then Rosie. Is that far of a gap? The gap is humongous. I can't even fit it on this camera right now. The gap. He is by far, like, I know he's the pick one. He should be the best, right? They're not always the best pick one. He is if I do not want to hear a word. Do not want to hear a word. His final series last year, the best out of a young guy I've seen in a long time. It's just I don't even want to talk about other players. So I'll just keep it on these two. Fantastic performance, out of the middle, brutal. Walshy's a gun. Give him the Brownlow. Give them both the Brownlow. Well, dual Cripper, Walshy, Brownlow. Just give him one medal and just stick it over both. Just somehow put it over both necks, and we'll give him a cup as well to put with it.
Could you imagine that? And like having Cripper and Walsh as the Brownlow medalist and Charlie as the bloody Coleman medalist, have bloody Lewis Young and Jacob Wiedering with a golden fist each, and then have them all as a premiership cup. Oh, mate, it sounds good to me. But like seriously, Paddy Cripps is contention to. I think Isaac right now is the favourite to.
Cripps is there,
of course, but
Cripps is there.
He's been up there, and seriously, I don't think there is enough conversation going around. This is probably the best start to his career. Almost, I mean, probably 2022 was
2022,
the best start, but this isn't far behind. So, but the question is, so obviously with Cripps and Walsh and Hewitt, they're probably they're the three main midfielders from yesterday. But with Adam Chera coming back. Now, Chera hasn't had a lot of experience with Sam Walsh being there, I guess, in the midfield. And, I mean, obviously, Cripps and Walsh. So, I mean, moving forward, most likely our main midfielders will be Cripper, Walsh, and Chera. So, what do you see happening there? So, do you see a little bit of a shift in roles with George Hewitt, but also do you see a little bit of shift in roles with Sam Walsh? But another name there that we haven't even mentioned yet, Matt Kennedy, who had 27 touches yesterday, who went back as well. And I really like him going back. I really do. And I like his ball use off the half back. So what do you see happening there with Adam Chera coming back in? Because obviously with Chera, how important he is to our midfield, he will fit straight back into that spot that he was playing a few weeks ago. What do you see? What do you think will happen there?
Yeah, I think the way I look at it is what we kind of did last year with Walsh. I think, I want him with the centre clearance as much as I can, but you've got to be able to fit these guys in. I don't think you drop any of these guys. You can't really drop any of these guys. And I think Hewitt's that pure. I don't think he can play anywhere else.
Yeah.
I know he used to play half back. He's a mid for us. He's a centre beast. So I think him and Cripps are almost that guys are in and under, and they have to be there. With Walsh, I think the way we did it well last year is where, he was at half forwards at start of game sometimes.
And then
he comes in. Yeah, so you can do that. I think you do something with that. And Chera can do that as well, really. You can mix and match. So it's a great problem to have when you think about it. But I think they'll figure it out. I think if they're figuring out the team right now with all the injuries, I think they can figure it out with Chera coming back in the side.
Exactly right. I think Chera is potentially a chance to come back in next week. But
Yeah.
obviously, we will know a lot more come the preview. And like another name is
Yep.
Mitch McGovern, who
Yeah.
seems like he might be a good chance. But also, as we mentioned before the episode, I think it's a tough one whether you maybe do give him a few more weeks. Obviously, with his injury history and especially with his hamstring history,
Yeah.
maybe you do give him a few more weeks. And like another conversation is with Jack Martin as well, and how he is potentially meant to be playing some sort of football in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I think Carlton is kind of taking the approach of like, let's just make sure that we take the extra 2 or 3 weeks and
Yeah.
you have a 5 to 6 time frame. But then by that 6th week, you are back and you are fit and you are ready to go to come back into the side and really make an impact and make sure that you aren't any chance of getting injured, especially with soft tissue. So we're now going to move on to probably the most exciting segment of the episode. And I think it's something that really, it's been, especially with Baggers Chat, it's something that we've talked about so much the past few years. And it's the right combination now. I don't know if it is a one-off. I don't think it is. I don't think it ever has been. I think this is always kind of coming. But TK and Pitto, it might actually work and it might actually be our combination moving forward. So Tom Conning, 3 goals, Pitto 25 hitouts, 22 to 8 center clearances. I know that we mentioned it earlier, but I think that's another stat that needs to be said. Kieran Briggs isn't a shit ruckman. Kieran Briggs is very, very capable ruckman, and he was probably one of the best ruckmen last year, especially. And Pitto especially dominated him. And when Cadman went into the second ruck, I think it was good to have TDK there because not like TDK can't hold his own against a number 1 ruck, but when it was Cadman v TDK, I'm sorry, TDK is going to absolutely dominate him, and that's what happened. And Pitto with 25 hitouts, and I think TDK had 16 hitouts as well. So he obviously got a lot of hitouts, but 48 to 32 clearances as well, and that's also a big part. I mean, of course, our midfielders dominated in that sense, but I think that was also good from our ruck to give the midfielders first hand. But David Boy, what were your thoughts on the ruck combination? I know that you absolutely love TDK, and he's an absolute lock in your side if you were to pick the team. But what do you think with this combination, TDK and Pitto, moving forward? Is this the right combination that will work?
So with the ruck combination with TDK and Pitto, it's like you said, it's the conversations seems like it's never ending at some points. But I think it's like I say, I think with the evolution of how our team plays, we figure out our structure and who should fit in certain places, and it's going to continue to evolve. There's going to be other players that come up, So a debut for a Moya in a few weeks or something like that, it might change it up. You never know. So I think as a whole, we're looking at the ruck combination, but as a whole, there's always going to be changes. We had Lockie Cowan come in and play a role yesterday, so there's all sorts of things you can look at there. But obviously, this is the main one and the main talking point after I reckon a perfect performance from the two of them, working in tandem together. So, TDK, like I said before we recorded, what opened up the game for us was him kicking the goals and him having impact ahead of the ball. It was huge. Like I listened to Pitto's interview after the game, and his first point of thought was talking about Tom's performance. And he was saying, it was funny actually, because he goes, the interviewer was like, talking about, the ruck combination and stuff like that. And then he goes straight to TDK. And I think that's a really, really good look in terms of they're obviously competitive and, they're against each other at certain stages for selection, but they're working together. They're a team. And I think, people view the extension of Pitto's contract, the 4 years, everyone was talking about it. But I think for me, it's a culture thing. And we're rewarding a guy that's really bought into the culture of the team. And I think in the past, we've given guys extensions that really don't deserve extensions. Like I'm talking 2018s and earlier. You know what I mean? Like we've extended guys that probably don't really deserve it in terms of culture, and they might be good enough at the level, but they don't really buy into that system and culture. And Pitto does. Pitto does his thing. And yesterday, his clearance work was fantastic. He had 7 clearances yesterday. He was, it might have been second behind, well, Cripps obviously had the most with 13, but Pitto was 7. And I think Briggs had 6 as well. They're very similar ruckmen in a sense that he used his body so well, Pitto. And I just knew he was going to get it out every single time in certain stages of that third quarter, where even if he didn't win the hit out, ball gets the ground, he's edging his man out. He's edging his man out, he's picking it up, getting it. And he was taking marks around the ground, which is huge as well for Pitto. And he looks like he's moving better than I've ever seen him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I think even in the preseason, I think he only played a half in Melbourne and was taken off. I reckon he had a little bit of an interrupted kind of just before the season. So I think that was a big reason for him not playing and kind of going through the twos and playing a few games there. So yeah, that's all I can say with the 22-8 clearances. That's huge. And that's probably on to Pitto and Teddy K as well. And our clearance work was fantastic. And well, what can you say, Patto? It worked. And I think that next week I think they've got Toby Conway and Reece Stanley. So I think we can take them any day, Patto. And I think with the Cats, I know their midfield's been quite good the last few weeks. I think we take it up to them. I think we take it up to them. I know they got Dangerfield, who's just come in. Obviously, he's a superstar of the competition, but it was their one downfall last year, and they haven't been tested. They haven't been tested. And even last night against a Brisbane midfielder, supposedly top 3 midfield. Get out of here. Get out of here, Brisbane. But yeah, Geelong, they haven't been tested in the middle. I'm not saying they aren't good, but it'll be a big test for them to take on a team who absolutely dominated the best team currently, best informed team in the competition in the middle and destroyed him in the middle of the park.
Yeah, and like that's also something with the GWS Giants. Their midfield have been one of the best in the competition by a mile. I think the other team probably that comes to mind is maybe a Melbourne, but even then they haven't been.
Yeah.
I think Carlton and GWS Giants have been their best midfield combination for the year, and we blew them out of the park. And for the coach,
Yes.
for Kingsley to then say that that them as in our midfield have just been absolutely like they blew us out of the park. That's something that is really good to hear. And another thing that we have to say is Adam Chera is still yet to come back into this side. So he adds another string to our bow in that midfield. So you mentioned there about the clearances. So yes, so Paddy Cripps, 13 clearances. Mark Pittonet, 7 clearances. You were exactly right about that. Sam Walsh, 6 clearances was our third best. And of course, George Hewitt as well, 6 clearances. And Newey, 4 clearances as well. So that was quite interesting to see that. But yeah, so overall, and you mentioned there about the Pitto conversation about him getting 4 years. And I think one thing that I don't know, because I'm not side, but from the outside, my opinion with Pitto is there's certain players that if they get dropped to the VFL or if they aren't selected for the senior side, they don't, you want to play AFL, of course you do, but you don't, you kind of do have your ego over it a little bit and be like, realistically, I should be playing. Pitto isn't that type of guy. He's very down to earth, but also very competitive, probably our most competitive on the park, but also he's a Carlton man at heart. So he wants Carlton, he wants his club to be the best that they can be. And if he's not a part of that, of course he wants to try and be a part of it as much as possible, but if he's not a part of that senior side, he dominates in the VFL, but I could almost guarantee he goes to the senior games. Every single game that he can go to, he watches and he supporters as a supporter like we do, because he wants to support his club, but also he wants to support his teammates. That's the thing. Yes. And I think Pitto is kind of the father figure around the club because he's known as the Brad and he's kind of known as the strength and he's known as kind of the dad around the club. And I think that's also a really good reason as to why he got the 4-year contract. Because not because he's a good clubman, but he's also a very good ruckman. So if Teddy K or if something happens with Teddy K, if he gets injured, but also I think we kind of trialed Teddy K for the first 5 or 6 weeks this year. Probably realised, okay, well, clearances is obviously something that is our brand. That's our brand, and we can add other strings to our bow, but clearances is our brand. And Mark Pittonet is the crucial component of that structure. And I think that's what he provides. And yes, we might be a little bit slower, of course. Yes, Teddy K might interfere with Harry McKay and Charlie CURNOW down forward, but I think it's one of the risks that you just have to take because Pitto is, I mean, I say it a lot, but detrimental to our structure. And it doesn't matter.
Yep.
I just think that with Pitto, I really do think that he needs to play every game if he is not injured. And
Yep.
like sooner rather than later, there might be some conversation where TDK might have a few bad games and Pitto is still doing his role. Maybe TDK gets dropped to the VFL. I don't know. But right now, we're going to live in the moment. We absolutely played a great game against the Giants. And that combination right now, it is working. It is the combination that can really fear a lot of sides heading into the second half of the AFL season. But we're going to now move on to, of course, Harry McKay and Charlie Curnow, a bit of a dominant second half. And it was an interesting one because Harry and Charlie both kicked 3 goals each, 7 marks each as well. But Charlie, I don't know if he had a few frothies before the game, or something, but he kicked 3 goals, but he kicked 4 behinds. And it's I think the reason why we kind of reacted like that is because he never does that. So
No.
I mean, of course, it's just an off game, and you can't really be too disheartened because he's obviously saved us from a lot of games with his talent. He has brought us out of a lot of games that may have been a loss. So, what were your thoughts on Harry and Charlie's performance, mate? I know that you obviously are a massive fan of Harry McKay, as we all are. But how did you see Harry McKay once again, not as that second ruck and as that pure key forward? What were your thoughts on Harry McKay and Charlie Curnow?
Yeah, I'll start off with Harry. I thought he was great yesterday. I thought he was great. He competes. He gets up the ground. He's got good ball use. He's got good work rate. He's just I don't know. He's just the perfect modern day forward.
Yeah,
isn't he? He's a mountain of a man. Like, he is enormous, and he can run. I credit to Leah in that first half. I thought we weren't actually distributing the ball well enough to Harry because you know what I mean. There was certain stages where we almost sat it up a few times where Lee goes over the top as a third man. But when we started to lower the eyes, not lower the eyes, but it was just that more of a dart lead up kick in the second half. What happens, Patto? Lee gets found out at the back because he's too slow. Well, he's not too slow, but Harry's got him every time. And I saw that shift because I think Cotters was a huge one. He had a few goal assists in terms of him just holding back, not going the hero goal, hold back, little chip to TDK, little chip to Harry, and you get your easier goals. You know what I mean? So it's really fantastic. He had a good game as well. Cotters, he had a really good game, especially ahead of the ball. He's fantastic. But in terms of Harry, he probably had more of the fourth quarter, more of the full game performance. And then I'll go to Charlie. I said it at halftime. To the old man, I said, he's the type of guy to have an absolute shocker of a first half and come out here. I 100% said this, and he'll come out and kick 4 goals in a quarter. And what does he do? He kicks 3 goals. I was laughing my head off when he was kicking them 2. And he has the audacity, 0 goals 4, and he has the audacity to go on the left and have a snap. I love to see it. But yeah, he said his first half, not sure what was going on there. He just looked really off. It was just, I don't know what he was doing, but like you said, he looked a bit, had a few frothies before the game, a few Carlton draft points just to settle the nerves, I think, but it didn't work out in his favour. But I think, he still kicks 3 goals, 4 probably. There's a few set shots. He's got to be kicking those. But Harry, how about Harry's kicking? Oh my God. What the hell, man? That's all he had to fix. We know that internally. He was producing around the ground last year. He was producing around the ground last year. You've taken grabs, and now he's almost the most confident kick now.
Yep.
In my opinion, when he's gone back.
Yep.
He's got this routine. He stops, marks where he wants to kick it, takes another step, 10 steps back every time, goes through his routine, doesn't give a fuck about the outside noise and puts it through the big sticks. And that's what I really like to see. And that's what you want to see from key forwards. So yeah, shout out to them too.
Yeah. So the question is, before we go to our bagger of the game votes, so we did love Harry being that second ruck. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, I know that do you think that might affect Harry's performance a little bit in terms of not being around the ball as much? Or do you think that Pitto and TDK, that combination, I mean, like back to the ruck combination, of course, that is so important where Harry might just, and who knows, it might actually improve Harry as well, because if he's more in the goal square, if he's more in that forward 50 and he's getting more of the ball and he's getting more marks, and he has more shots on goal, that might improve him. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it might affect him for the better or for the worse if he is not that second ruck and he's only that key forward?
I'll tell you right now, I think he'll be absolutely loving it.
Yeah.
I think he'll absolutely be loving not going to the middle.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. I agree in terms of when he was around the ball, he was really, really good. But I think I just think he's good wherever he plays at the moment. I think, like you said, with TDK and Pitto, I don't think you can take them out of the side. I think you got to put them together. And you got Harry up forward the whole game. It's a pretty big weapon to have. And the thing about him is he's not just the typical forward. He's similar to they don't play the same way, but in terms of his running capacity, like Jeremy Cameron, he's a forward, but he gets to centre back at points. He gets off the kick-outs. And I thought another point with the kick-outs. Not many kick-out goals, Patto. Not many kick-out goals. Well, I don't think at all.
I don't reckon at all. Yeah.
He held him up better I know that's another conversation, but on that topic of kick-outs, they didn't get over the back as much. So that was what we fixed. Our defense was better. Our pressure was off the charts. So, yeah, with Harry up forward, keep him up forward, he could win. He could win the Coleman.
Yep.
He's due for, I don't know. He'd be top five, surely. Top five, surely. But, I think he's just been phenomenal every game, and he'll be top five in the BNF come BNF time.
Oh, yeah. Who knows, mate? Maybe Bossy just wanted to scroll through the podcast and came across the Bag of Chat episode and just had a look at the kick-ins and wanted to try and work on it. Who knows, mate? If you need to get some assistant coaches in, probably get Daffy Boy in. Probably don't get me in because I don't think I'll add too much. But yeah, no. I don't reckon there was anything. I generally don't reckon there was anything.
It wasn't like there was no
easy.
When I say the kick out, it's not even us touching the ball.
Yeah.
It's end-to-end stuff. So that was really, really massive pointer for me. Even when we were a little bit down in the second quarter, I felt like we weren't leaning out the back like last week against Adelaide. Gee, we would have slaughtered Adelaide.
Oh, I know.
I'm thinking about it now. It's I think it's a good rocket up the arse. So I think it works. It's a negative and a positive in a way, but I think we can just enjoy being 5-1 at the moment.
Yeah, maybe that loss to Adelaide, maybe that win yesterday doesn't happen if we got the win against Adelaide. So, but that's frustrating because 2 points as well. But also, I will say this: once again, 17 goals, 15 points. I just think
opportunities though.
Yeah, but I reckon if we got halftime when I was thinking about I guess the review, and if we did lose the game in the end, I would have probably been saying decision making once again, conversion, we just couldn't convert, all of that. But also 17 goals, 15, I just don't know what it is. And Charlie Curnow, who very rarely misses, was getting 3 goals, 4. That's it. I mean, we want to try and stick to the positives as much as possible. But if it was the other way around, I could almost guarantee if we lost the game, we wouldn't be talking about this stuff right now. We would be talking about the other stuff. And let's be real, it was 19 points. So it was a 3-goal game. So if Giants were maybe a little bit more on their game, and if we were a little bit less on our game, who knows? Yeah. It could have been a Giants win, and we could have been talking about the conversion and the match strategies and what we were doing in the last 5 minutes. I don't know, but I think I think it's a good thing because Adelaide last week, obviously that was a shit game, and there were obviously some things that we worked on, of course. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, my thoughts are we are still getting the opportunities, and eventually, the more we get those opportunities, the more we're going to convert on going. Come finals time, if we do make goals, that's going to convert from 17 goals, 15 into whatever, 21 goals, 11 or whatever it is. But I just think that if we keep on getting the ball in, especially with personnel down, there are a lot of players in there that help that, especially with getting the ball inside forward 50. There's a lot of players there that aren't out there. When they are brought back into this side, that's going to even help us even more. But let's now move on to the bagger of the game, votes Daffy Boy. So I need your 3-2-1. So 3 votes, of course, for the best player on the ground, 2 votes for the second best player on the ground, 1 vote for the third best player on the ground. Now, for the viewers out there who don't know what this is, probably around the bye round for this year. I think our bye round is, I think, round 13. Maybe I don't know exactly, but when our bye round actually comes, we're going to release the votes for the system, but also at the end of the year, we're going to announce our bagger of the game, bagger of the year, to the player with the most votes. But it's pretty much what we think each game in terms of impact. We do 3 votes for. It doesn't necessarily need to be the best player on the ground. It just needs to be the most impact player, but also the players that we think is the best player, but also most impact, whatever we think is the 3-2-1. So, Def Boy, 3-2-1. Who have you got?
Easy. We've spoken about these guys. I'm just going to go 3-2-1 real quick because these guys have been, I don't know. We've talked about them heaps. 3 Crips by a mile. Well, not by a mile. Walsh was enormous as well, but Crips was, it was phenomenal, really. Walsh 2. And 1, he's going to get his first vote from me this season. It's going to be Mark Pittonet. He's going to get his first vote. He's going to get his first vote. Mark Pittonet. He is the epitome of bagger of the game. Impact on the game. He won us the game out of the middle. Well, and Cripps and Walsh probably. But he helped. He had a massive contribution.
Yeah. No, I do like it. Now, I will give you a bit of a clue. My players are the exact same, but different order, which is interesting. So Cripper, 3 votes, 2 votes Pitto, 1 vote Walsh, and I think it is a little bit biased because I do love Pitto so much, but I mean, Walsh, 35 touches in its own right. That's insane. That's out of this world, of course. But, 2 votes for me. The reason why we got the win in the end and the reason why we had a high score of, 117 points overall, is the big reason for that is Pitto through the middle. And, who knows if TDK was in the ruck, maybe we still might have got that, But Pitto, from my point of view, Pitto was the second best player on the ground in terms of impact. Walsh was great, of course. Very, very tough that. But I think you were going to go with Cripps, Walsh, Pitto. But I just thought that Pitto was just that little bit extra in terms of impact. Walsh is still absolutely fucking awesome. But I just think that Cripps was by far the best player on the ground. But then Pitto and Walsh is obviously quite close in terms of impact. But yeah, all 3 of them. And as we mentioned before the episode, I don't think there was a single word. I don't think there was a bad player on the ground yesterday. In half time, there was 13 players who didn't lay a tackle. That changed after the second. In the second half, that changed. And what I was seeing as well is the intensity and the effort just went up in the second half. And I don't know if it was because Vossi got into him at halftime. Wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Sure.
It definitely did change come that second half. So that was another thing that we haven't even touched on, how big that second half was for in terms of impact and the players actually hunting the ball down. We speak about the Giants having their orange tsunami sort of play style, but also I reckon we pretty much beat them in their own game yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Our effort was just so much. We wanted the ball more than the Giants did, and it's very rare that happens, especially against the Giants. So, David Boy, before we wrap up the episode and head into the game next week for the Cats, is there anything else you would like to touch on?
Nothing really. It's a pretty good ep, I must say. We've covered a lot of things in that game, a lot of positives. There was a lot of positives in that game. There's probably a few other positives we probably miss out on, but you can't touch on it. Otherwise, the episode will go for 700 hours. It was such a good game. But no, I think, really positive. Needed to not lose 2 in a row. I think we need to try and avoid losing 2 in a row this year. That'll be massive for us to kind of lock in a top 4 spot. But yeah, the Cats next week, bring on the challenge. They're a great team. They're disciplined. They play a good brand of footy. They've got great players. So we can't take them lightly, but enjoy the win this weekend, Blue Baggers, and see you all at the MCG 4:30 next week when we smash the Cats.
Yeah, really well said. It's actually a funny thing also, because I said it to one of my mates last night at work, and the past 3 weeks we've had 4:35 Saturday afternoon.
Oh, mate.
It's quite funny, isn't it? I just realized it last night. I'm like, wait, we're playing against the Cats once again.
Same time. Yeah.
4:35 Saturday afternoon. It's a little bit. I mean, I don't know if it's just because they're trying to make that more of a prime time slot, so Carlton can
Yeah.
be there. I don't know, mate. But
Yeah, probably.
but yeah, I mean, like I really realized that last night. I'm like, oh, that's a little bit funny. But yeah, no. So well said. But I mean, overall, I think we're obviously very excited. But I think we're more excited in terms of what is to come now. Is that the brand that we're going to bring for the rest of the year? Is that the standard that's going to be for the whole year for the Carlton Football Club, or is it going to drop again? But I think last week, I mean, we were very optimistic with the loss against Adelaide, where we weren't too shattered about it because it was kind of a loss that we kind of needed. But then we didn't want it to be the same story yesterday against the Giants, and it wasn't. And the first half was a bit like, oh, but the second half we turned. And then that third quarter, it's something that 2022 we were doing a lot, where we had that one quarter when we ended the game. And yesterday we did it. Third quarter is a premiership quarter. That third quarter is the premiership quarter, and that is the most important quarter, and we did it. And the fourth quarter, we just kept it going. We lifted the standard, and yeah, it was just great to see. But I'm hoping next week I will actually be able to go to the game, and I'm not put into work at the very last minute. But yeah, so to every single Blue Bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to check out our socials that we're on. I know that we have Instagram, TikTok. We have plenty of socials out there, so make sure to get around them. But also on our platform, on our podcast platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music.
Yep.
We are on a lot of platforms out there, so make sure to get around them. But we will see you for the preview. But to you, Daffy Boy, and to every single Blue Bagger out there,
Up the Baggers.
Up the Baggers.
The Baggers.